Anyway.
I thought you were sleeping there, Gary. You had your eyes closed. Did you nod off?
Aye. I had to set my alarm for 7:59.
You're here now, Gary, and you're looking well.
Oh, you think so? That's very kind of you, Andy. You're looking no bad yourself.
It's just the lighting here, Gary. Don't be confused. Don't be
confused. My lampshade's doing great things for me.
Is that the £2 lampshade out of B&Q that you
£2 lampshade? They phoned me the other night and says we've had a run on the £2 lampshades.
Dear goodness.
So everything okay, Andy? Feeling good?
I'm brilliant. I'm feeling good today, Gary. All good. But you did flag up a wee technology gremlin, Gary.
It's happened again.
It has. I'm just looking at it. So hello, folks. If you've joined us, good evening.
We were just chatting amongst ourselves there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show.
We do have an audience. It's wonderful to see you all virtually again. Thanks so much for tuning in to Paisley Community Chat Show.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see you. It really is a thrill.
Try and say that with some conviction now, Gary. Come on.
You're such a lovely audience. I'd like to take you home with us. I'd like to take you home.
Are you reading from an auto cue, Gary?
No, it's a Beatles song.
See, you and lyrics, Gary, you know your stuff. So we seem to be split, Gary.
Yeah, there's a split audience. It happened last week. Something happened. There was a wee gremlin in the technology, and it splices the video up. The video you put up first, Andy, allows people to comment and go, "Isn't that great?" And then it streams it again.
That's right, absolutely. So we're if you're watching us on Facebook, there's two sources on Facebook. There is on the feed, and then there's another one which is the live show, which you can click and watch. Now, on one of them, we don't seem to be getting comments through.
Yeah.
But on the other one, we are. Whichever one we're getting the most recent comments, that's the one to follow and watch, folks. If you
can follow that.
Well, we've got our number one fan in. Jackie's in.
Hello, Jackie.
As always, good to see Jackie. This is the highlight of Jackie's week, Gary.
I've seen that. It's highlighting my week as well, Andy.
The highlight of Gary's week. Jackie, you're on the right one. Just stay there, Jackie. Don't move.
Yeah, stay steady. What's moonshine?
Is that what the provost is talking about? She thinks that you're on the moonshine. Have you been doing your homebrew again, Gary?
I can't say.
Oh dear goodness, Gary and the homebrew.
But it's good to see we have got an audience. There's people tuning in, but we'll need to look into that, Andy.
We will. We'll try and sort it out for next week, folks.
But maybe that was the source of Tube Chat last week.
Tube Chat.
Tube Chat. We need to get that Tube Paul on.
We've not been called a tube yet, Gary. But we
haven't been called a tube. We have not been called a tube yet.
We were talking about tubes in relation to people not wearing masks, Gary.
Yeah.
And trying to keep Renfrewshire out of lockdown. That's
what happened last week with a delegation from the council wanting to take our catchphrase off as Tube Chat. No, it wasn't a Tube Chat. Don't be a tube.
Well, we started off with this, Gary, right?
Yeah,
Keep Renfrewshire out of lockdown. And then I've worked my graphical magic, Gary.
Don't be a tube. What's the A? That's just to break it up a bit.
Well, see, if you don't make the A yellow and it reads as don't beach, hoob. Don't beach, hoob.
Don't beach, hoob. Right, okay. Don't be a tube. That's a cracker, isn't it?
Do you think Renfrewshire Council will go with that, Gary?
They're watching tonight. We've got high-powered delegates in tonight. Maybe that will get adopted.
We have. But
keep off the moonshine. Don't be a tube.
Don't be a tube. And wear your mask, Gary. It's interesting. A couple of wee things. We get a shout out about masks, right? A shout out about masks because we were contacted by. Oh God, where's my mouse? Right, we were contacted by the Paisley Thread Mill Museum today.
So we were, yeah.
And they have told us, and I hope you can see that, but Paisley Thread Mill Museum, they are in desperate need of funds. And the folks at Paisley Threadmill Museum have got creative, and they've started making face masks. And there's lots of different colourful ones there, and they're selling them for £5, which I think is a very reasonable
just a
price.
fiver. And they're reusable, Andy, aren't they?
I think you can probably pop them in the wash if you've worn them once or twice. Pop them in the wash, and then they're all good. But if you are interested in not only saving other people by wearing a mask during COVID, but also helping out Paisley Threadmill Museum, you can visit them here.
Yeah, Paisley Threadmill Museum, pretty straightforward, Andy, on Facebook.
That's it. And you can pick up your mask for a fiver, and that's all right. I think that's a good deal, Gary.
I get a stupid story about masks this week, Andy. You know, Kevin that works in the office said he was out at the weekend and he was outside the bungalow. He was in having a pint, and these two women walked by. They'd been discarded from another establishment, and they went up to Kevin and says, "Have you got a mask, mate?" And he says, "Aye. Can we get a Lenny it?" What? Can I get a Lenny your masks?
I thought you were going to say that the mask's on, but the nose was hanging out.
No. Your
nose isn't connected to anything.
Asking for a Lenny a mask?
Borrowing a mask. I've not heard that one before, Gary.
Completely ridiculous.
It's fair to say there are some people that will only wear a mask, Gary, though. And we're talking medical reasons aside, because there are obviously a group of people out there that, unfortunately, for whatever reason, due to medical purposes, can't wear a mask. So we get that, we understand that. But if you are not in that category, where you're being asked to wear a mask for the consideration of others, but some folk just will only wear a mask.
I know there's a lot of rebellion, or there's some rebellion going on, Andy, and I can understand frustration, but when it comes down to it, the numbers are higher than they've been ever for a day. We don't know what's going on. We've got to trust the government and the scientists.
We have, and I know you can go down the rabbit hole on conspiracy theories, and folk will say masks don't work, right? But I'm going to pose a situation to you, Gary.
Just to me?
Well, to the audience.
Okay, that's fair.
To the audience, right. I remember being out years ago. I had the good fortune of travelling out to Japan, and I saw people wearing masks out in Japan, and I asked the chap that was taking me around Japan, I said, "Why are people wearing masks?" And he says, "It's very simple, because they've got the cold and they don't want to spread it. So it's a considerate thing, right? So it's a really considerate thing. So if they've got the cold, they'll wear the mask and it won't transmit it to other people." So I thought, well, that's really considerate. That's really thoughtful. That's really interesting that they do that. And obviously, in the Asian populations and cultures, that's the done thing. It's not so much a Western sort of thing. But here's the situation that I pose to you, Gary. You're on a bus, right? Or a train, or you're in a small restaurant or whatever, and I've got cold. I've got the sniffles, I've got the sneezes, I've got the coughs, or maybe I've even got the norovirus, that winter vomiting bug that if you've had once, you'll no forget, Gary.
Oh, you're not sitting near me.
No, well, that's the question. Would you like me to sneeze or cough in your face with or without a mask? Preferably not at all, of course.
No, you're getting tough stuff.
Exactly, but you'd rather have a mask.
Yeah, the mask thing is quite easy. You've seen the cartoon, Andy, with the two guys stoning and one's peeing. You seen that one?
Yes,
the guy's peeing. He's peeing out, and he pees on the guy. But if he has trousers on, he pees down himself, and that's keeping the bugs in it yourself.
Indeed, and you would far rather. That's my cup of tea, and Gary. You would far rather
9 minutes, Andy.
It's a bit late, Gary. But you'd far rather that you wore a mask, or I wore a mask if I had the cold or the winter vomiting bug.
Yeah. It is courtesy, Andy, and maybe it's just people being tubes. So please don't be a tube. There's Eddie joined us. You were missed last week, Eddie. You were missed, but I think we had the best option here last week.
What was the score last week, Gary?
So we got beat.
Was that the Celtic game?
Yeah.
2-1?
2-1. We got beat.
It's a shame.
I've got my season ticket. I get a free pass or part of my season ticket. I get to see all the games.
Or do you get to watch the games?
It's pretty torture though.
You stream it?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't work very well, but now that I've got this new setup, all my new gadgets, it works a lot better.
Well, good. Now, listen, Gary, we have got some fantastic guests lined up tonight, have we not?
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's a pretty serious night tonight, but we want to err on the side of being really positive. Tonight's a mind, body, and soul night. So mind, body, and soul, and about how exercise, music, anything can affect your mental health. And of course, this is another tough week. This is a curve that we a few weeks ago, Andy, we were really positive about all this. We're coming through it, light at the end of the tunnel. Now it's shifted again, and I can only imagine the impact that's having on people.
Yep.
So we want to bring a bit of positivity to people's lives. So there'll be some songs tonight, some chat about yoga, some chat about exercise, and how that all can shine a positive light on your mental health. So that's what tonight's show's about, Andy.
It's going to be good, Gary. I'm really looking forward to the guests that we've got on. I also I've sprung a mystery guest on you, Gary, that you didn't know about.
But I know now.
You know now, because I told you earlier on. so Gary, you sent me over some images that you wanted me to put together. And
yes, I get flagged up through our membership in the Chamber of Commerce. We get stuff through. So the Chamber of Commerce have got a Transform programme on just now. And this one caught my eye today when it came through on my email. And then I seen it on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter and you look up Renfrewshire Chamber of Commerce, that's their Transform programme. So if you're in business and you're a member of the Chamber, click on that link. And they've got, I think it's a 3-day programme, Andy, but you've got a guest coming on that's maybe going to tell us about it.
Well, you sent me over the image and there was a name that jumped off the page there, Brian Costello, because believe it or not, even though I look an awful lot younger than Brian, we were actually in school together for a few moments to tell us all about it. Brian, how are you?
Hi, Brian. Very well, guys. Very well. Nice to meet you, Gary. I don't know. We might have met before at a chamber thing. I don't know, but nice to meet you.
We might have met at school as well, but I was a few years above Andy.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't know it by looking at him right enough, because he looks such a spring.
And I think the school was knocked down by the time Andy went to the school.
I had a tough paper round, as they say. Brian, are you well? You're just back for walking the dog, Brian, I see.
That was it, mate. I've been doing a training course all day. We've actually had real life people in a real life hotel in a real life room. I was doing that today, and then quick run home, walk the dog, made myself a cup of tea to come and join you guys with. I made my own, Andy. I don't get mine delivered right enough. I was here just in time to see that.
I don't get
I know, Gary. I got to have it down in here. That's what I have to do.
Have mine.
Brian, well.
We've been obviously we went to school together and we have the pleasure of being Facebook friends, and I know you've been involved in an awful lot in terms of mental health, well-being, positivity, and you're running this programme which kicks off on the 30th for the chamber. So I thought, given the fact that I knew you, I fired you off a wee message and you were gracious enough to slot me in for a couple of minutes to come onto the programme and tell us all about it, Brian. So give us a quick overview on the programme. Who's it for? What you're going to be running through, and how can people get involved, Brian?
Okay, yeah. So thank you. And so for anybody I've not met before, I've been working mental health, personal development, all those things since 2003, and it's a fascinating world. And one of the things I will say, and this leads up into what the programme is that one of the things that I like to do is I like to talk about mental health, but I like to have positive conversations about it. That there's too many people out there that when we talk about mental health, It's not to say that it is obviously a very serious topic, but that doesn't mean we always have to talk about seriously. We can have a laugh. We can still talk about mental health without basically heavying everybody up, albeit that there are obviously some serious topics. So I promised anybody that wants to join the programme that we're going to have a bit of a laugh. Meanwhile, also addressing some pretty serious topics. So this was something that Bob, the chief executive of the chamber, approached me about, and I've done a bit of stuff for the chamber before in terms of it. So we've got 3 lessons, I'll call them lessons, where what we're going to do is we're going to cover some of the key mental health aspects, especially about what's happened. I came in there just to hear you just the end of your chat, about masks and all of these different things. Obviously the announcement yesterday as well. I don't know. From my perspective, I was kind of like, what else did you want? But there was a lot of people obviously on social media that were having moments to themselves, and it does create a lot of uncertainty. And one of the things that our minds don't like is my mind doesn't like uncertainty. So when we start to get into a place where people maybe don't know what the future holds, how long is that going to go on, as you were saying there, and I'm sure you guys have been feeling it. I don't know about Gary, but I've got a season ticket for a different team. And I was starting to think,
his team won last week, Gary. His team won last week.
My team won last week.
You got a technical hitch there, Andy. Is Brian having to leave?
Yeah. If it is absolutely any forgiveness to me, I wasn't born in Paisley. I only moved here when I was 12 and lived here ever since. But before then, the damage had been done to me. I'd already been indoctrinated by my grandfather. I was starting to think maybe we'll get fans back to the football, all of these different things. I was starting to think, here we go. And then when this hits, it can really set people back in terms of their mental health. We've seen a lot of people experiencing anxiety. I think there's a lot of business owners there as well that have experienced people coming back from furlough and not maybe having that same motivation they had when they left. And that's understandable because people have had a very confusing time. Some people have had a hell of a lockdown. Some of us have been lucky enough to have an okay one, but that's what we want to cover: is how can you, especially since it's through the chamber, so mainly for business owners, how can you, as a business owner, as a leader, be somebody who leads in terms of personal development and mental health, which is going to involve what I call, I like to have a wee look about there, occasional pokey stick moments, guys. Where I am going to turn around and make everybody kind of look at themselves a little bit and say, you might have to, as a leader, especially if you do own a business, you've been carrying a lot of pressure. Are you looking after yourself? Or are you just turning around and also looking at everybody else going, you should be looking after yourselves, when actually you're stressed, tired, you've been carrying this thing, and all this worry around for a little while. So we're just going to cover a whole range of topics. There's going to be opportunities to ask questions, to interact, all these different things. So I'm really excited about it. I'm hoping to make it something that, we can tailor to what everybody needs rather than maybe having a completely prescriptive agenda as to what we're going to cover.
And that's good, Brian. We've put the links up, so we'll look out for that. That's brilliant.
Yep. And just a quick recap. We'll put the links up, Brian, but this is online session. There's no attendance in person. Is that correct?
Absolutely, which means it can be flexible. We've done a couple of sessions just during lockdown like this, so we've aimed it for lunchtime-ish, when it might be a natural break, so that everybody's maybe got a natural break. We'll be on for about an hour, maybe slightly longer if you can make it. I think we've scheduled it for an hour and 15, just if anybody had any questions at the end. The general structure is going to be me talking for probably about half an hour, 45 minutes about a concept and how the mind works and what we can do, with then maybe 15 minutes, half an hour at the end for people to go, right, well, how do you actually do that? How do you apply that? And to kind of challenge and ask whatever questions they may need or want to.
Brian, it's been a real good moment to catch up with you again. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for popping in.
Website.
No problem at all, Gary. And cheers, Andy. Good luck with the rest of the show. Hope it goes fantastic.
See you later.
Bye now.
Bye.
Right, Andy, you've sprung that on us.
What a boost of positivity and energy there, Gary, to get us off to a good start. So we're rolling into our next guest already, Gary.
Is that your way of saying we've overrun?
No, not at all. I'm just trying to just continuity, Gary. Continuity.
We're overrunning. Right, I want to introduce our first guest, and I've been wanting to say this for ages. It's Ronnie Connick from Iconic.
And here he is.
There you go. I'm a poet and I don't know it, Ronnie.
Well, the name Iconic was there before I joined, so.
Oh, was it? Wasn't it just rhyming for you?
Wasn't just rhyming, no.
Ah, God.
Although
How's you doing, Ronnie? You all right tonight?
I'm good, thanks. Hello, Tom. Sorry, Tom in the comments there.
Yeah, Tom's popped in.
He has. Tom, good to see you. We have all sorts of interesting viewers this evening. Ronnie, you joining us live from somewhere in Paisley, I'm guessing?
Aye, I'm up in Foxbar, Andy.
Good stuff, good stuff.
Good. The internet's reached down there.
Aye.
So it's great to have you. It's great to have you on the show, Ronnie. And I mean, obviously tonight's show, Mind, Body, and Soul. Normally at this stage, we'd like people to just say hello and who they are. And for those that don't know you, Ronnie, could you give yourself as big an introduction as you need to?
Sure. I'm a yoga teacher. I've been teaching yoga for a couple of years. Only started doing yoga about 5 or 6 years ago myself. I specialise in kind of yoga for stress and anxiety.
Yeah. Is it always down at Iconic that you're doing it, or are you out and about doing it?
Mostly at Iconic. I'm based there.
Next
week I start a new class in Johnson with an organisation out there called Alls Included.
Very good. Very good.
Class a Thursday morning out there.
I was going to ask, Ronnie, what does a yoga teacher do to relax?
I drink heavily.
Straight face. I don't know if he's joking or not, Gary.
I've never done yoga, Ronnie. I'd imagine it's pretty good for relaxation, as you say, and de-stressing. But what's the main outcomes of yoga?
Well, the main part of it is for relaxation, the works with the body. So you're working with your breath, working with movement, taking the mind away from your thoughts, if you like.
Yeah.
One of the basics of yoga is you're not your mind. Your mind is that wee voice that runs away in your head. We call it the monkey mind. So what you want to do is get your awareness out of your head and into your body. Start thinking about what's happening with your breath, what's happening when you move. Physically, as well as that, when you actually tense a muscle and then release, it creates endorphins and hormones within the body, which relaxes the body, gives you kind of natural painkiller, serotonin. Also just helps to calm everything down, and you burn off a lot of energy as well. So you're using big butt muscles, your legs, your shoulders, up through your back. All the big muscles of the body burn off energy really quickly.
Yeah.
So the longer just standing in different poses. Yoga particularly works for mental health because of the way it's structured. You're focusing all the time, so you're balancing, you're thinking about what you're doing, and it's all self-centered. Things like football, team games and stuff like that, brilliant for stress. All exercise is fantastic for any kind of stress and any kind of problems you have like that, anxieties.
Yeah. And there's lots of different types of yoga, isn't there, Ronnie? I tried yoga once or twice. I went along to a couple of places, and it was the one that I fancied was the hot yoga, where they take the temperature up to 40 odd degrees, and you're in for an hour and a half, and you're only standing in one spot, and I can't remember how many different moves that you make. But oh my goodness, it was physically difficult. I felt amazing. I really did.
Yeah, I mean, hot yoga is, it's kind of a kind of more recent one, I suppose. There's a kind of standard set of yoga that was kind of written down or brought to the West. And yoga started in India.
Yeah.
I was going to ask Ronnie, is it roots in martial arts? But maybe not. Is that wrong?
Martial arts have got roots in yoga, more that way.
Okay.
I mean, that whole kind of area around where yoga, China, India, Tibet, all that kind of region of the world where the kind of martial arts come in, mainly because the people were hugely oppressed. Kind of like in Scotland, you weren't allowed to have a weapon, so you took up other ways of doing things.
Yeah. And, obviously we're talking about mental health and well-being, Ronnie, and clearly yoga can be something that's really good to, center the mind, get you either switched on or switched off, depending on what it is that you're trying to achieve, good physically as well. But one of the tough challenges right now is that we can't get everybody together. So how have you had to adapt in terms of your yoga teaching over COVID? Have you been doing sessions online digitally? Is there exercises you can do on your own when you're not in a class, Ronnie?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's part of yoga is you kind of learn a kind of basic sequence, and you repeat it. Certainly during lockdown, I was doing online classes.
Yeah.
Up until sort of just about a fortnight before we went, actually the gym reopened, we were able to go back in. I'm back in the gym now, but we're really restricted for numbers because of having to keep distance between mats.
Yeah,
I'm down to about half of the size of a class I could take before. I mean, it's one of these things you can learn it. You can do it along with YouTube. You can do it along with other things. You can learn yoga from a book, basically. If you just want to make a pose. So it's kind of like you're voguing away in your own room, just strike a pose and hold it.
Yeah.
And you'll get a bit of benefit from that. I find more benefit personally from being in a live class. I don't do a lot of yoga on my own. I do a sort of stretching and a bit of practice. Mainly do meditation when I'm on my own. Yeah.
So that meditation aspect of yoga, is that just to take yourself out of your mind?
Yeah. To get you used to focusing on your breath.
Yeah.
Get you out your head, get your awareness into your body. So rather than having to think about what's all those wee thoughts that are firing away in there, which wears you out, uses up a lot of energy as well. So bring that energy back into the body and use it there.
Do you use that technique? I know sometimes you're trying to go off to sleep and your mind's still thinking about the daytime stuff and it's thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow. Have you got a technique just for nodding off?
There's different things you can do. I mean, one of the easiest ones is just do a breathing techniques. The simplest way is to count your breath, breathe in for say 4 and breathe out for 8. So as long as you got that longer exhale when you have the inhale, it triggers the switch in your mind that says, right, I'm relaxed. And you do it long enough. Don't have to do it for too long, 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Your body will actually relax enough that you'll just drift off to sleep.
So that's basically exhale for longer than you inhale. And count a 4, and then do you hold your breath after 4 for a bit and then exhale?
It depends. There's a really good, if you need like a quick fix, quick calm down. Basically, find your heart, wherever your heart is. Breathe in for 4. Hold your breath for a count of 7. And exhale for a count of 8. And repeat that until everything calms down.
Gary, we don't want you nodding off again. You were sleeping before the show.
No, I'm just thinking there, the one you were telling us there, Ronnie. I've seen that guy, Paul McKenna, doing something like that. Is that partially a technique that he uses for, what is it he does? Do you know what I mean?
Hypnosis.
But hypnosis. Aye.
Yeah.
When you want to get the body as relaxed as you can for hypnosis. So anything that you can do to calm you down and get your breath stable.
So Ronnie, we all live really busy lives now. I mean, we've got phones, and not only can folk phone you in your phones, but you've got Facebook Messenger, you've got Twitter, you've got news announcements coming in, you've got email coming in from a dozen accounts. You then jump on your computer. We've all been zoomed out our heads over the last 6 months. It's just information overload. Switching off is difficult, and obviously not at night time when you're trying to get to sleep. There's some techniques there, but yoga and mind and body, clearly a connection there. But what are your kind of top 2 or 3 tips for just kind of detoxing in a busy life? What's the best things to start to work on, Ronnie?
It does take a bit of discipline. So it's things like before you go to bed, don't look at your phone. Don't look at something that's going to stimulate you before you go to sleep. So if that means I got a terrible habit of using my phone as a Kindle, so I read.
Okay, yeah.
And then you're sort of like eventually you get used to it, so you can drift off. But it's use the settings in your phone, turn the colours off, everything else.
Yep.
If you can, just go without your phone, without any TV for about half an hour before bed. No stimulants, so don't have any coffee or tea before you go to bed.
What about the drinking heavily? I guess that
drinking heavily works for me, but it doesn't necessarily work for everyone. I don't know what the exact medical thing on that is. And don't drink heavily while you're trying to get sleep.
We can't have any of that.
Your cheeks wet.
No good.
You're waking up dead, Ronnie.
Aye.
You don't want that.
Can't have that.
You don't want to wake up dead.
I'm fascinated by this now. I've had trouble with my hamstrings all my life, with not stretching, and not being able to do that. The football training thing, they get you standing one leg and pull your leg up, and then you fall over.
We call it.
Aye. So if I had to go back 30 years to start, maybe even 40 years to start the football training again, yoga probably would enlighten those guys that were taking training.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the exercises you see, footballers use, are yoga based. I mean, Pilates came all the way from yoga. Most of the kind of stuff you do in circuits and things like that are all kind of based in yoga moves. Yeah.
So clearly, there's a few things that we can do. You mentioned in terms of online and stuff like that as well. But I guess maybe one of the other barriers might be if you're a bit out of shape, you're maybe not at your physical fitness. Do you have to be quite fit and supple, Ronnie, to do yoga and get something out of it? Do you need to be that athletic?
No, absolutely not. No, you'll get something from it, no matter what you do. And it's I don't. Talking about learning from a book or something like that, but there's no basis. You fit. The point of going to a yoga teacher and having a yoga teacher is they fit the yoga to you, don't fit you to the yoga.
Okay.
So it's whatever you're working towards. I mean, you get good days and bad days. Some days, like things like for balance, early in the morning can be good for balance. Late at night, you're tired, your balance goes off. But it just depends where you are and how you're feeling at any given time.
And presumably if you've got an injury or maybe a disability or whatever, again, what you're saying is you fit the yoga to the person. Absolutely. So you work with their injury or work whatever their limitation is and ensure that you get the best out of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no stipulation for yoga whatsoever. You can do it sitting in a chair. You don't have to stand up. You can stand, you can hold a chair, you can do whatever you need. Yeah.
And have you seen an increase in the number of people coming to yoga or seeking this type of help and assistance because of the pressures of COVID and so on, Ronnie?
I have, There's much more. Since we were back into the studio, the amount of people that are coming because of instead of trying to get more supple for sport, which we used to be, it's now more kind of like I need to calm myself down. Yeah. I feel yoga is good for that. So we'll come along for
that. Are you finding that people are less inhibited by the stigma related to that? And they're opening up more. I mean, I think mental health is a lot more open now, and it'd be great if people can just chat the door, walk in and say, look, I need to de-stress. Can you help me out?
I think it's still there. I think the stigma is still there, and people are but their own worst enemy, put it that way. But that idea that you think, no, I'm not, I don't want to tell people I'm stressed. I don't want to look as if I'm failing. I mean, I bombard classes with the fact that it's good for stress. Whether they come for stress or not, they get told about it anyway. And as I say, I mean, I kind of, a lot of the reason I started doing yoga was, well, because I was injured, so I couldn't run. And also it was really helping me, because running was my way of getting rid of stress.
Aye.
I'd go out and run until I wasn't stressed anymore. And I fell
Did you
over.
enjoy the running, Ronnie? I hated running.
I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it up to a point.
Yeah. Andy, I was going to ask, are you still doing your running?
I've not been out for a few weeks, Gary. I've just been absolutely snowed with work right now. But Ronnie, I started that couch to 5K, and that was good. That, I mean, you get an app for that. I just went out and ran around the roads, and you know, week after week, you just incrementally just builds you up. And then I did it. You know, it basically gets you to run for 30 minutes, but you're not quite at a 5K level then. So then after I got to 30 minutes, I was able to then go out and run for the full 5K, which took me about 38 minutes or 39 minutes. So it was really good from that point of view. And as I say, but these dark nights, you know, and it's a bit colder, a bit wetter. If you're not a kind of fair weather runner, you know, then it can be a bit of a challenge. But yoga, you can, I mean, you say you can go to obviously Iconic offer yoga classes, and that's where you're going to get the best tuition. You're going to be in with a group of people. You're going to be able to have that peer learning and shared experiences. But if you can't make that now because of COVID and various other things, you can get a space in your house in front of the telly or the computer, put a YouTube video on, and you know you can make a start on it, Ronnie, can't you?
Absolutely, yeah. And there's fantastic stuff on YouTube. There's so much of it, and there's so much now because everyone's kind of online. We've all had to kind of learn to take that next step because of shutdown.
Yeah,
So there's great yoga out there. There's a rage yoga in America, which is really interesting. Rage. It's kind of based in Texas, and it's great because they do it to really, really good music, like loud, aggressive punk music, and there's a fair bit of shouting. It's great.
Aye.
It really, really gets everything out. And their classes, they're kind of they're timed for early in their morning, so it's kind of around about tea time here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Maybe give it a go. Well, certainly, Ronnie, you've got your fan club in tonight here. I'm sure Margaret Connick is not a relation in any way, shape or form.
It's a very popular second name.
Highly recommended Ronnie's class. Give it a try. You think we might make it along, Gary? You never know. How you look good in lycra, Gary.
Well, I've got my cycling shorts. I've had to hold my thighs and my hamstrings and all my calves and all that together because of my various injury strains and football strains over the years. I've just been badly trained, actually, badly coached over the years. So I'd be up for that. Anything that gives me a bit of stretch and chill. I'd be up for that. So how do we get involved in the gym then, Ronnie? I know gyms are just opening up again. What's the story with that?
The gym's various things and various measures in place to make it safe.
Yeah.
So you wear your mask when you come into the gym. Book in at desk. You can sign in into all our classes through a website. So it's Iconic Fitness. Just search for that and you'll find us. You'll be given a spray bottle and a cloth when you come in to wipe down any equipment that you use. For yoga, we'd ask you to bring a mat. We can provide them if you don't have one. And we clean them all before and after use. So all very safe.
Yeah.
As I said before, we'll get everything's distance, so you're at 2 meters away from everyone else.
And you're down in Lawn Street, Ronnie, just banging it
down Lawn Street,
yeah.
So before, I'm just getting your website up here, Ronnie. It is quite literally iconic.fitness. That's it. That's all you need to do. Now, we had, just before we let you go, Ronnie, I noticed behind you, there's a poster on your wall. and it looks like it's Elvis Presley. And Paul Stewart, who's one of our regulars, talked to Ronnie about Elvis. I'm guessing you get a quick Elvis story that you can share with us, Ronnie.
I don't know if I've got a quick Elvis story. Just big fans of Elvis in this house. Huge Elvis fans.
Oh, fantastic, Ronnie.
Paul was fixing my boiler in my Elvis room. I think.
That's the connection.
You've got a shrine to Elvis in your house.
Well, aye, let's call it a shrine. Yeah, a couple of nice posters and whatnot, as I believe most people have.
And, well,
everyone I know,
everyone in your circle. You've not got anything to do with Elvis. You're not in the circle.
No.
Well, no. You're in a different circle there.
Well, listen, Ronnie, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. And
that was enlightening. Actually, I've enjoyed that and got to know the background to yoga and what it's all about. And
cool. Thanks very much.
I need to look up some YouTubes.
Ronnie, thanks so much, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming on, Ronnie. See you later. Cheers.
I'm going to try that.
Didn't know you'd done the yoga, Andy.
I've done the hot yoga, the Bikram yoga. It's really quite tough. You're in this place for an hour and a half. It's sweltering hot, but when it's really, really hot, you feel a bit more supple.
Aye.
And then you can stretch. I'm relatively supple, or used to be from my younger days. So it's good to get a kind of good stretch and all that sort of stuff. But definitely, I've not tried like regular yoga, but those folk that I know do it and absolutely love it, Gary.
Yeah, but you know the power exercise, Andy. You've done that running. You've done exercise most of your life.
Aye.
I've just been doing a bit of cycling recently, and I need to get out on the bike. It'll take me away. Just to get out in even the wind and the rain, but then you get out into the views and into the countryside, and that whole thing about exercising and making you feel better.
It's good. It's so important, Gary. And I'm not a professional in any way, shape, or form about mind, body, or soul, but I think we all know the benefits of exercise. If you can get out for a run or a cycle or whatever, even out just for a walk, the fresh air and the escape away can do you well. And particularly this tough time. If we need to get out and get a bit of fresh air about us, then that's good. There's the details up there. Anyone that's interested, Iconic, they are huge supporters of the town.
Absolutely, Andy.
They're based in Paisley, and if you follow them on social media as well, they do a brilliant job at supporting everything that goes on in the town. So if you can support them during their the challenge that they'll face with COVID, then that would be great. And if you're looking for yoga or Elvis, Ronnie's your man.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Right in the middle of the town, Andy. It's great to have that right in the middle of the town, and you can't miss it. If you drive down Lawn Street, big purple building on the right-hand side, or the left, depending on where you're travelling.
Depending which way you go.
Yep. So that was good, nice and relaxing with Ronnie and his yoga. We're going to go up a level, Andy, I think.
Turn it up a notch.
We're going to turn it up a notch, but still with the mind, body, and soul. Our next guests are going to impact on every aspect of that again, and they're going to make us well happy.
They're going to make us well happy.
Do you like that?
They've also got more hair than us, Gary.
It's without trying. Without trying. Coming on the show now, we've got Janine Duffy and Elaine Wells. So, Elaine Wells.
That's okay.
I'm getting my tongue twisted. Welcome, Janine and Elaine. How are you both?
Hi, Andy. You're well. Thank you.
You're both looking well happy.
Yeah, thank you.
Musical instrument at the ready, because I understand you're just going to go for it right now, are you not?
Yeah, well, I'm going to sing a wee song for you.
We want to open this slot of the show up, and before we kick in with a bit of chat, Elaine, we're going to have a happy tune.
Okay, yes.
So take it away.
Thank you. Hi everybody, my name is Elaine from Well Happy, and I'm going to sing you a couple of tunes. So the first one is ode to my motorhome because she broke down today, so she's in getting fixed. So this is all for Frida. This is called the Motorhome Song. 1, 2, 3, she's called Frida. She's magnificent, it's no lie. She's got 6 things for six, even beds for sleeping, and a kitchen living on the side. She's not the fastest vehicle on the road. She's got good sense of style, and I can't think of a better feeling when I know I'm going on the road for a while. We are wanderers, free to roam. There ain't no kind of feeling that we won't go. All we need to be happy is the open road. And I'm driving in my motorhome. Yeah. Beep, beep. Yeah, beep, beep. Beep, beep. Oh, yeah, we don't always know where we're going. Our destination is up and up. But our other travel buddies who pass us by to keep them with to say hello. We can park right next to the coastline. This is the cozy under those stars. And each and every I thank those lucky ones because they sure be sleeping in a tent on a car. We are wanderers because there's so much to see. There ain't no place in this union that that'll be. All we need to be happy is the open road. When I'm driving in my motorhome. Yeah. How amazing to wake up and look out into a different view. Yeah, every time we leave, it's something truly beautiful. I hope that we return real soon. Yeah, yeah, ba 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 ba. Oh, I'm driving in my motorhome. We're gonna travel all through the night. We're gonna get on all the city where the scenery is pretty. We're gonna chase those lonely nights. And this world is ours for the taking. Along the hills to the waterside. Wherever Frida goes, the party always shows. So come sing some songs by my heart. Yeah, we are wanderers. We're free to roam. There ain't no boundary track that we won't go. All we need to be happy is the open road. And I'm driving in my motorhome. Yeah, 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 beep, beep. Yeah, yeah, beep, beep. Ah, yeah, beep, beep. Oh, oh, beep, beep. Oh, yeah, beep, beep. Oh, beep, beep. Ah, beep, beep. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Elaine, did you just say you wrote that the other day?
No. No, my yes, I just wrote it the other day. No,
Anyone written an ode to a motorhome before? That must be a first.
Oh, it'd be
Well-
there. It's an amazing. She's lovely. I love her.
yeah,
The
no,
motorhome.
yeah, no,
Thank you.
I wrote the song a wee while ago, but she broke down today.
That's
And
what it
she's been-
was.
She's been breaking down quite a lot, so I'm just sending her some nice happy vibes in the hope that
I've got you.
I really don't have to spend any more money on her. So yeah.
And what kind of motorhome do you have?
Oh, it's a Bessacar E445. So
Oh.
it's a 4-berth. So me and Chris and my wee boy and a pal can come along.
every time we go out, and she's taken us all around the country and further afield, and she's the Well Happy headquarters whenever we play festivals, so she's a nice welcome rest for those that have got tents that kind of travel along with us, so we can all just kind of have chats in the motorhome until God knows when in the morning, which usually happens. So
Janine, are you friends with the motorhome?
Yes, very much so. I love Frida. Yeah,
It's Frida.
Yeah, Frida. It's just so lovely to have. It makes such a difference at a festival, especially when you're working. You know, like Elaine and I would maybe go to a festival from a Wednesday to set up and things like that, and be there until the Monday or the Tuesday. So having a motorhome, and especially if it's raining or anything like that, we're just so lucky and so grateful.
Well, fingers crossed for the motorhome.
Yes, and fingers crossed for festivals as well.
Yes.
We'll talk about that, I guess, in a wee minute, but it might be useful because, you know, folks watching may know you, may not know you. Elaine, you were on a few weeks ago. You were our musical interlude between our guests, but it'd be great to get a wee overview on who you are, both of you, and tell us a bit about yourselves.
Great. Janine, do you want to go first?
Okay. Well, we're Well Happy. So Well Happy started 2014. And we basically teach people techniques to improve their health, their happiness, their relationships. We do ukulele lessons, we do laughter yoga, we do EFT, we do Reiki. Just so many different techniques that people can access and use themselves. Once they know them, once they know the techniques, they can use them at any time. It's stuff that you can use quite discreetly if you're in a public setting and you're finding yourself anxious or overwhelmed or exhausted, you know. And I think those are things that are really impacting people just now. The longer that lockdown's going on and the situation is sort of really not seeming to be resolved in any way. And obviously people are being impacted by through their work and through schools and different things like that. So we've been working over the last few years with various different organisations, with schools, third sector organisations, businesses, to teach staff and also sort of clients and pupils and everybody else these techniques that they can use to fill their lives with more joy and happiness and to reduce the impact of stress on them.
Wow.
We can all be doing a bit more of that, even if we're totally overwhelmed with happiness. You can't add any more in. You've got to add more in at the top, haven't you?
Yay. Yeah. So yeah. Sorry, you were going to say something, Elaine?
No, I was just agreeing with that. Yes, you can never have too much of a good thing.
All sounds fantastic. There were a couple of things that you mentioned there. You mentioned you're a 3-letter acronym, EFT.
EFT, sorry, yeah. So that's emotional freedom techniques.
Oh my God. Tell us, because I wanted to ask you about, we were obviously chatting to Ronnie earlier on about yoga, and you mentioned laughter yoga.
Yeah.
But then you also mentioned EFT, so...
I thought that was tickling.
It could be part of it if you wanted to introduce that and people were comfortable with it.
Yeah, depends how people feel about tickling.
But EFT, it stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques,
right.
And it's a tapping therapy. So basically you tap on specific parts of the body.
Okay.
And these are meridian endpoints. So meridians are energy channels. Well, it's really one big long channel that splits 14 times. And so you've got all these channels running through your body that carry energy. And sometimes if you're not moving, if you're stressed, if you're got any kind of emotional problem, it causes problems with the flow of the energy. So when we tap on these specific points, if you're stressed or if you're in pain or if you've got any kind of anxiety or anything, if you focus on it while you're tapping on these points, as you focus on it, you set off your amygdala. So your amygdala is the part of the brain that detects threat. And it starts off your fight or flight response. You start, your breathing increases, the blood all goes from your internal organs out to your muscles so that you can get ready to either fight or flee. So there's a whole load of processes that happen in the body at this point. But what happens when we tap on these points is that it decreases the activity in the amygdala. So it starts to calm you down. And after a little while, whatever the issue is just seems to disappear. So it might be an emotional issue, it might be a pain. So for example, I had a friend last week who had injured herself at the gym, and we worked for about an hour and a quarter, and her pain went from a 7 to completely gone within that hour and a quarter,
Wow.
just working through tapping. And so what it can look really quite silly, because you're maybe working on a particular area of the body. So say you've got a sore stomach, you know, sometimes you can feel like you've got a stone in your stomach, or you can maybe your stomach feels a bit wobbly, so you just describe it the way that you say it. So I had somebody a couple of weeks ago and they were describing it as a jaggy tangerine. So it was like it was orange and it was the size of a tangerine, and it had a sort of jaggy texture as she could feel it within her body. So it can be quite a fun activity to do as well. And again, it's something that once somebody's learned it, they've got that tool in their toolbox for the rest of their life. It's free, it's there, it's at the tip of your fingers, and it is so effective.
Is that an anxiety and a stress reliever as well, or is there
Yes.
something different for that?
It's all this. It works for anything where you are off your emotion of happiness and joy. Anything off of that, really, you can work on it to get back to that place of happiness and joy and relaxation.
Well, Andy, we're out of depth here.
Well, really, I mean, it's all fascinating stuff, because I mean, the reality is, particularly right now, when we've talked about that, you know, there is stress, concern, worry that's out there. We're all, you know, finding our way on how to cope with this. There's lots of things that life will throw at you, but ultimately, it's been able to, I guess, you know, check in with yourself and find techniques that allow you to either cope, to just get through, or to potentially improve. But I mean, ultimately, you know, what you're well happy. That happiness, that is you know, it's you got to think that it's almost one of the default emotions that we've all got. But a lot of people really do struggle with being happy, don't they?
Yeah.
And a lot of it's to do. Sorry, Aline, carry on.
No, I was just going to say, a lot of people forget as they're getting older that happiness really is the kind of core of why we're all here.
Yeah.
If you look at young kids, if you look at wee babies and toddlers, they are constantly happy, or if they're not happy, they're trying very hard to get back to that happiness, because they know that that's their natural way of being. And as you get older, you forget that. You have more responsibilities, you have more worries, you have more people depending on you. So that then starts to lead into layers and layers of stress within the body and within the mind, and you forget that happiness is the natural way of things. And being happy sounds a wee bit frivolous, you know, if a lot of people get almost ridiculed for being really happy, but if you're one of these people that can be honestly, genuinely, really, really optimistic about life, the chances are you're going to attract the really good things happening to you purely from an energetic and a vibration level. And it's been shown now that we are all energetic beings. So why not learn to manipulate that energy to a point where you can attract other things that are like to you? So the optimistic person is always going to find the way out of an issue. Instead of focusing on the problem, they are naturally more likely to look at the solution. Whereas a lot of people want to look at the problem because it serves them in some kind of way. So what Well Happy does is we try and empower people and make people understand that everybody has mental health. It's as much as it is stigma, it's everybody has it. Everybody has good days and everybody has bad days. And if you can manipulate yourself in a nice way, if you can look at your emotions and see how you're feeling and understand that to be your better and your best self, it's when you're feeling really, really great. If you can figure out a way to get up to feeling really great, then you become the best person that you can be, and you start looking at the solution rather than looking at the problem. So it's all about self-empowerment.
I suppose that when you're a parent and someone asks you, what would you like your kids to be when they grow up? And it is, as long as they're happy.
Absolutely.
And that's very
healthy,
true.
Happy.
I always reflect back on the John Lennon quote. I don't know if it's a real quote. When I was 5 years old, my mother told me that happiness was the key to life. And when I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I wrote down happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment. And I told them they didn't understand life. Now that's as true as you can get. And when you reflect that to your kids, what do you want your kids to be? An engineer, spaceman, doctor, lorry driver? I just want them to be happy. And it just reflects back to that.
Yeah, and also knowing that they have the ability within themselves to chase their dreams, to be what it is that they want to be. A lot of people grow up wanting to be rock stars or wanting to be, presidents of whatever, and a lot of people will laugh at it. And what they're doing is they're taking on that energy and thinking, well, that can't happen. And that's one of the biggest killers of achieving what it is that you want to do is what other people think. And it's all about maintaining the course and understanding that you can do what it is that you want to do, and we're lucky enough to be able to provide the tools that can help people achieve what it is that they want to achieve in life.
And it's that kind of negative belief as well, not having the belief in yourself or believing that you can't do something. And EFT is a really, really good tool for shifting your underlying beliefs. So your unconscious beliefs that you've taken on from your society, your religion, your school, your parents, wherever you've gotten those beliefs about your behaviours and your abilities. Some of them just don't serve you anymore. They might have been handy when you were a 5-year-old, but as an adult, they're just not working for you anymore. So the EFT is a really good way of taking out the negative beliefs and being able to then reprogram yourself with a positive belief that's going to work towards what you actually want.
Yeah.
And it's really, really easy.
It's so easy.
It's so easy. The biggest obstacle is your want to do it.
Yeah.
And your belief in the process, and me and Janine now have been using it for so long that we thoroughly believe the process because we've transformed our lives through it. And it's almost like you start to feel a wee bit like invincible. You start to feel unstoppable. Whereas 10 years ago, I was stuck in a rut and really hating my job and not knowing where I wanted to be in life. And I knew that I wanted to be up on stage, but I wasn't quite getting there, and I wasn't really doing all that. And having met Janine through the festival circuit and becoming really close pals, Janine introduced me to a lot of these techniques, and what happens is you learn it, you notice the difference in your life, and you just want to learn more, which is really cool.
Do you know, sorry to interrupt there, Elaine, at the weekend you said something, and this is how effective EFT is. When I was saying, I used to have chronic back pain for about 15, 20 years, and I used EFT to get rid of it. And you said at the weekend, and you went, in your knees as well. And I thought, God, I've not even thought about my knees.
And your knees were a massive issue. Yeah.
Not having sore knees and not even thinking about them again after using the EFT to get rid of the pain.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so how did people get to engage with you guys and get to work with you?
Well, we've got a whole ton of courses that are just coming up. Over lockdown, we did an awful lot of work.
Yeah. Did I ask the right question there, Elaine?
Yes, you really did. We did a lot of work with people over lockdown because obviously it's a particularly stressful time at the moment. We're just about to launch ukulele lessons, which can be done from the comfort of your own home. We did this at the start of lockdown and it was a massive success, mainly because everybody was just in their house on Zoom. And when you're a brand new ukulele player or a brand new player of anything, you really don't want other people hearing what you've got to do. So everybody kept on coming back and loving it because essentially you put on mute and you get to sing along with us and nobody else can hear it. That proved really popular. So we're about to start them next week. So we've got absolute beginners courses starting next Tuesday. Level 1, which is just if you've learned a few chords and you understand strumming patterns. That's happening on Tuesday as well. And then for the more advanced player, we've got new ones starting on Wednesday the 30th. So check out the Well Happy Facebook page.
I'm just about to get all the details here.
Yeah. We've got
more courses.
You need the ukulele for that one, Elaine. But there's loads more you're going to tell us about.
Just a couple.
We've got Well Happy Bodies starting on the 12th of October, which is to help you have a more positive body image and to look at ways that you can help yourself to improve your general health. and your mindset all around your body, whether you want to lose weight, whether you want to tone up, whatever it is, whether you want to just maybe want to eat more healthily, but you're not quite getting there. So we'll show you some techniques to sort of trick your mind and get you to think in different ways. We've got the Art of Happiness starting on the 14th of October, which teaches you techniques to just bring more joy and happiness into your life, that you can do either on your own or with other people. And we've got some Halloween laughter yoga on the 31st in the afternoon. So we're really looking forward to that.
Why is this not a prescription?
Halloween, according to your Facebook page.
What was that?
Halloween.
Halloween.
Did you hear me? I said, why is this not in prescription?
No, it should be. It should be, absolutely. We do have, there's EFT is available on the NHS in certain areas. So, there's some of that. And we have worked with the NHS in terms of doing little projects here and there. We've worked with local councils and gone into schools with the laughter yoga. And it's always, people are always a wee bit, oh, what's this? But then once you get into it and after you've been doing it for 5 minutes, it's just really good fun. Tell me more about this laughter yoga. I don't think we got to the bottom of that.
Well, laughter yoga was invented in 1995 by a medical doctor in Mumbai. His name was Madan Kataria, and he had been studying and researching all the benefits of laughter, and he realised that laughter really was a cure for all after looking at dozens and dozens of different research papers. So him and his wife, who was a yoga teacher, went out to a park one morning at 6 o'clock in the morning in India, and they got 5 people to join their first laughter yoga club. And they all just stood around telling jokes, and the next day more people turned up, and then the next day more people turned up, and it was really great for a couple of weeks. But what they found out was that not everybody found the same jokes funny. The jokes were starting to run out, and some jokes were starting to get offensive, so they were like, we can't really do that. So they went back to the drawing board and they came up with laughter yoga, which is basic. It's simple exercises that use your imagination and use your body. And the exercises themselves only last about 30 to 40 seconds. And after the exercise, we do some deep breathing to get the oxygen and carbon dioxide levels back to normal. Because when you laugh, you take in a lot of oxygen, which is really great. It's good to have oxygenated blood, but it can also make you feel a little bit lightheaded. So you do some deep breathing just to kind of bring it back down and to calm all your systems down to get you ready for the next exercise. So,
and that goes back to what Ronnie said as well about the 4-8 breathing. He was saying about the 4-8 breathing that brings you into a nice state of relaxation, and the reason it does that is that when you have a longer out breath, you increase the amount of carbon dioxide in your blood, and carbon dioxide your body's own natural tranquilizer. So Elaine and I both studied science. I studied biomedical sciences, and Elaine studied immunopharmacology and biochemistry. So we teach people how to change the internal environment of their body to change how they feel.
I'm trying that breathing out one the night.
Yeah, and I use that technique for going to sleep, and it works really, really well. But the laughter stuff, I love laughing. I absolutely love laughing, to the point that you get to, you laugh, you're on the floor, creased up, pain, tears streaming down your face. There's nothing better than that. It's just fantastic. And it'll be something dead silly, but there's just like a trigger that goes off that switches you into your laugh mode. It's just great. It's absolutely.
Have you ever been in a situation, Andy, where you've maybe had a really big, massive issue that you can't solve, you can't think about? Every time you think about it, it makes you feel really down, and then you'll meet your best pal and you have a really, really great giggle, and then you think back to that problem and it seems really small, and it seems like if you could think about it just a little bit, you would be able to solve it. That's the difference in the kind of vibration that we're talking about. It's all about being able to raise that vibration, which you would do with your best pal when you're laughing, and understanding that this problem's just this size and actually I can solve it. So you're taking yourself out of the problem to solve it. And what we do is we try and let people know that you can be there quite a lot. You can be at that level.
I must admit, I'm very lucky, because I am naturally a positive individual. I've got a positive mental attitude all the time, most of the time, and I always yeah, I don't. I seem to, if any challenges come along or any struggles come along, I do manage to kind of shoulder it okay. But ultimately, not everyone is like that. Not everyone, whether it's your internal chemistry or your the way that you were brought up or whatever. But sometimes people can find things really tough. It can get them down. It can take them to a low ebb and keep them there for a while, and they find it almost difficult to kind of struggle out of this. And maybe at this time it's kind of highlighting that pain point even more. But so I'd be keen to just get one or two tips for folk that are finding things a little bit tough, for folk that are finding the kind of future a little bit more daunting. And we've got to appreciate that some folk will be in that position. What are some of the small things that they can do that will end up making a big difference? What do you think?
Maybe setting some time aside for yourself is one of the things, and that whole self-care. Self-care isn't selfish. We're really kind of taught that it's selfish and frivolous, and you should be going and doing this and going and doing that. But unless you're taking care of yourself and taking care of the root, which is you, you're not going to be able to develop and grow in any way round about you. Because if you're really stressed all the time, our body can't be in a state of defence and a state of growth at the same time. And when we're feeling really stressed and down, we're in a state of defence. So making sure that we can actually get into that place. So what Elaine was saying there about raising our vibration, and the way that we do that is just to reach for a better feeling thought every time. If you've got a thought and you're feeling really angry, see if you can just feel a bit numb or even have no thought, and then try and move on from there. Try and move to something like hope or something that's going to be a bit more excited, or I don't know, give me another emotional and I've run out.
Well, basically what you're doing is you're always wanting to soothe yourself. So whatever feeling that you want to feel, if you're feeling really, really rubbish right now, try and think of an emotion that makes you feel less rubbish. So you could have despair, which is right down the bottom. Anger is a really good emotion to feel for a short amount of time, because what it does is it kind of moves you up the emotional scale. When you're really angry, you want to move, you want to act on something, whereas if you're feeling hopeless or desperate, you're not really sure which way to go. So if you're feeling hopeless, look for anger. If you're feeling anger, look for hopefulness. So when you start getting into the sort of positive emotions, that's when you expand as a person. That's when you solve the problems. That's when you are becoming the best person that you can be. But there's always going to be times where you're feeling really, really down, and ruminating has been shown to have detrimental health effects on you. So if you're just sitting running the same thing around your mind and it's making you feel that particular emotion, be it anger or be it despair, and the only thing that I would suggest to do is, everybody's going to ruminate, everybody's going to do it, but if you can sit and ruminate and just tap round about here while you're having, it could be a rant or it could just be sitting thinking about stuff, what you're doing is you're actually starting to clear those emotions. So you know what it's like to ruminate. You just go round the houses doing the same thing. So if you can sit and do that and tap here, you're actually clearing a lot of the stuff. You're getting to the amygdala that's almost wanting you to feel those things, and it's calming everything down, and it's allowing you to move up the emotional scale. So when we know that we've kind of made a breakthrough with a client, as somebody's really feeling that low kind of vibe, that anger, that hopelessness, and when we do certain tapping, they think about the same situation, but they come at it from a different angle. So if it's about a certain person, they'll find compassion for that person naturally, or they'll forgive, or they'll say, oh, okay, do you know what, I'm just going to move on. And that's how we know that it's starting to clear, because before they were just going round and round and round, whereas they can put it to bed and move on. And EFT is not like turning yourself into a robot. You still acknowledge that you used to feel that way, but you just don't feel that way about it now, and it allows you to move on.
That's inspiring, Elaine, and the science of happiness is something I didn't know existed.
Well,
it's a science. There's a lot of scientific studies now on everything that we do. Everything that we do has been shown to work, and it's energy. What's it called? Science, energy work, and energy science. Energy psychology, thank you very much, is very, very much, it's an expanding field. Everybody's getting into it. Everybody's starting to understand that the mind is more than the brain, and there is that mind-body connection. So you feel feelings, and we're all emotional beings, whether people like to admit it or not. So your mind is constantly connected to your body, and if we can get the two working in harmony, then you can move on a lot quicker.
And we know, of course, music is a fantastic vehicle for cheering you up and making you feel good. And I think, Elaine, you've got another up as we play out this section of the show. Is that right, Elaine?
Yes, I do.
Do you want to give us a little bit of background on this one before we put you full screen and allow you to sing your heart out?
Yes, this is a song that I wrote just a few years ago. It's called "Break the Mold." And it's just it's quite relevant today because a lot of people are quite scared to go outside. There's a lot of new rules. It kind of takes you on a journey of different people and different opinions, and it kind of has its ups and downs. I wrote it just before the referendum, but it's not really about the referendum. It's just all about people feeling empowered and what we can do to kind of help ourselves and everything else. So this is called "Break the Mold." Where the next Within them holds the key that breaks the chains that make us toe the line of this false society. And if we stand together, if we open up our hearts, if we defend the truth, denounce the lies, isn't that a sign? We will cover every corner, we'll spread our message wide, and one by one we'll watch the tyrants fall. And when we've gathered all the hope we have, one day we'll find our love will common home. Oh, so hear our freedom call, our love will conquer all. Oh, so hear our freedom call. Thank you.
And a big shout out to the rest of the band as well.
Hello.
Fantastic. Janine, Elaine, it's been wonderful to have you on. You've given us a real boost of positivity and happiness, and we'll stick all the details up so folk can find out how to find you. But I guess thanks for this evening. And
Thank you very much.
That was uplifting. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Lovely
Right.
to be here.
See you later
next
on.
time.
Bye now.
See you soon.
Cheerio.
How good was that, Gary?
Oh, I've got my ukulele downstairs, Andy. I still can't get any songs with it.
Your ukulele.
Ukulele. I got a ukulele one year for Christmas.
George Ford.
I know. That was brilliant. See the things we learn in this show? Like yoga, laughter yoga, that EFT thing, the tapping.
They're trying that a wee bit
stuff.
out.
But it's all just about being, and that technique about moving up a level. That was really quite interesting.
Yeah, because you're thinking you don't want to be angry, but if you're feeling despair, then you can get to being angry. That's better than despair, because that's a kind of action orientated thing. It gets you moving, and then if you can move up a next one. Clearly, lots of info out there. We put the details up on the banners, so anyone, I think, Well Happy Life up there, or just search for Well Happy on Facebook, and you'll be able to find it. But I mean, the reality, Gary, we do know that this can be a challenging time for folk, but there is help out there. You sent me through a handy information screen, Gary, which I'll just pop up the now.
Yeah, just if obviously people can still might find it difficult, and there is help out there. And I was doing some research on this earlier today. This is one of the best ones that I found, Andy.
Yeah,
it's got some. I've seen a lot of Facebook things going about with a mind number on it.
Yeah,
the 0300 123 3393. There's a lot of people on Facebook posting that on. So I thought I'd find something that was relatively official, that came from somewhere. Yeah. So there's Samaritan's Breathing Space, Mind, Calm. These are numbers that you can phone up if you're feeling as if you need to speak to someone.
Yeah.
Or please speak to a friend if you're feeling useless. But that technique, Andy, I found that really quite useful. If you're in despair, be angry. If you're angry, then start to channel it. Yeah. And Paul's went on there in one of the comments, and music is my go-to when things get on top of me. And music's therapeutic across all walks of life. It's an amazing out, and I know when I'm in a certain mood, I've got some anchors that I go back to, and I just pop it on, and you're away, and you're back there, and it just changes your mindset again.
You're a big one for your music. I must admit, I like my tunes. I maybe don't necessarily need it as a kind of emotional switch, but we've talked about our theme tune at the start with Tom Maguire and the Brassholes, and there's a track that they've got that I just put that on, and I can put it on in the morning, and absolutely just wakens me up. It gets a spring in my step. And it gets me off to a good start. But I think the most important thing is folks, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling challenged, if you're feeling a little bit lost, there are so many support organisations that are out there, and also the Paisley community is out there as well. There's so many. You look on some of the pages that are out there. There's so many great folk out there that are happy to help, that are happy to listen, that are happy to support. Please don't feel that you're alone, that you're isolated. You know, pick the phone up. There were some numbers that we showed earlier on. Pick the phone up, drop someone a message, reach out to someone on a social media and see if you can get help. And I'm sure, you know, whether it's ourselves or the folk at Well Happy, or you know, some of those organisations, Samaritans, Mind, and so on, you know, please just seek that help and, you know, and see if you can move up that scale that people talk about.
Yeah, there is a lot of that out there, Andy. And I wanted to close tonight's show off. I was really inspired, and it's quite an emotional moment when the First Minister, whatever you think of her in government or your colours are, some of her words the other night were really inspiring. And I wanted to finish tonight's show off channeling some of and stealing some of her words, to be honest.
Yep.
To close tonight's show about how people might be feeling about the pandemic and this upsurge again. And I wanted to say that though it doesn't feel like it now, this pandemic will pass. It won't last forever. And one day, hopefully soon, we will be looking back on it, not living through it. So the message is to be strong, be kind, and everyone stay safe. And I don't apologise for stealing their words, because I thought they were inspiring and inspirational, and that's, I think we need to reflect on that now, that this will pass.
Yeah,
it might take a wee bit of time, but we need to be strong and look after each other.
Yeah, and as you say, Gary, it doesn't matter who said them. You know, that message there, you know, be strong, be kind, and stay safe. You know, that's enduring across the entire spectrum. And I think if we're, you know, able to demonstrate that, you know, we spoke at the start of the programme about wearing a mask, and you do that out of consideration for others. And it's not about yourself, it's about others. So that whole being strong, being kind, you know, it's about that for everyone else. It's tough for everybody. We all find it challenging, but no, very, very poignant words, Gary. I'm sure she'll not mind that you nicked them.
Yeah, as long as nobody tells her. But I found it really inspiring and something to hold on to, and we will get through it. We just need to look after each other. So that's the final message for tonight. So
Gary, it's been a brilliant show tonight. I've really enjoyed it. Learned a lot about you know, the options that are out there, the importance of yoga, and then ultimately Well Happy and some of the things that you know, we can do and look at to, you know, help us put a smile on our face. And the best medicine. Somebody said it earlier on, you know, laughter is indeed the best medicine. So you know, this week's been great. Next week, Harry, what's coming up next week?
Who knows? We've got so much heritage in this town, Andy, and I think we'd like to go back to community and Paisley's heritage. So we'll try and slot something of that in. Planning a wee bit further ahead. We, believe it or not, we've got Halloween and we've got Guy Fawkes coming up. We might plan in an audience pop-in thing that we just have me and you on, and everybody comes on the show and we have a right good laugh.
Oh, it's just a big jump-in type of thing.
Everybody jumps in.
We'll see how we go on. But listen, folks, if you want to get involved in the show, if you want to come on the show, if you think your organisation needs spotlighted, I mean, we heard from Paisley Threadmill Museum earlier on. If you need us to spotlight a community, if someone's out there doing something really important that we need to know about and we need to tell people about it, let's absolutely use this show as a platform. It's not about us, it's about the guests. And we've had some amazing guests throughout the last 20 odd weeks. So, yeah, please do get involved. So that's us, Gary.
Tonight again, Andy.
It's been a great show tonight. I'm going to nip downstairs. I've not had my tea yet, Gary, so I'm going to go down and see what's been cooked up for me this evening.
Go on, enjoy that. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Everyone, stay safe. Look after each other. Cheers.
See you later, folks.
Bye.